selfish giant. Every afternoon, as they were coming home from school, the children used to go and play in the giant's garden. It was a large, lovely garden with soft green grass. Here and there, over the grass, stood beautiful flowers which were like stars. There were 12 peach trees, and that in the spring time look out was the delicate blossoms was pink and pearl, and in the autumn they gave rich fruit. The birds sat on the trees and sang so sweetly that the children used to stop their games and were to listen them. "How happy we are here!" they cried to each other. One day the giant came back. He had been to visit his friend and stay with him for 7 years. After the 7 years was over, he made up his mind to return his own castle. When he arrived, he saw the children play in the garden. "What are you doing here?" he cried angrily, and the children ran away. "My own garden is my own garden," said the giant. "Anyone can understand that, and I will allow nobody to play in it but myself." So he built a high wall all around it and put up the notice board, "Trespassers will be prosecuted." He was a very selfish giant. The poor children had now nowhere to play. They tried to play in the road, but the road was very dusty and full of hard stones, and they did not like it. They used to play around the high wall when the lesson was over and talk about the beautiful garden inside. "How happy we were there," they said to each other. When the spring came, that all over the country there were little blossoms and the little birds. Only in the garden of the selfish giant, where it was still winter. The bird did not want to sing in it, as there were no children, and the trees forgot to blossoms. Once a beautiful flower put its head out of the grass, and he saw the notice board. It was so sorry to the children that it slipped back into the ground again and went off to sleep. The only creatures were pleased with the snow and the frost. "Spring has forgotten this garden," they cried, "so we live here all the year round." The snow covered the grass with his great white cloak, and the frost painted all the trees silver. What is silver? Painted all the trees silver. Then invited the north wind to stay in it, and he came. He was wrapped in the furs that he wore it all the day around the garden and blew the chimneys down. "This is I don't like this place," he said. "We must ask the hail on a visit." So the hail came. Every day for 3 hours he rode on the roof of the castle till he broke most of the slates. And then he ran round and round the garden as fast as he could go, and he dressed in grey, and his breath was as cold as ice. "I cannot understand why the spring was so late in coming," said the selfish giant, and he sat in the window and looked out at his cold, white garden. "I hope to be a change in the weather." But the spring never came, nor did the summer. The autumn gave the golden fruit every garden, except through the giant's garden. "He's too selfish," she said. So it was always winter there, and the north wind and the hail and the frost and the snow danced above through the trees. One morning the giant was lying awake in bed, and he heard some lovely music. Its sounds were so sweet to his ears that he thought it must be the king's musicians passing by. It was really only a little linnet, singing outside his window. But it was so long he didn't hear the birds in his garden that it seemed it was the most beautiful music in the world. Then the hail stopped dancing over his head, and the north wind stopped roaring, and the delicious perfume came to him to the open window. I believe the spring was coming to play at last, said the giant, and he jumped out of bed and looked out. And what did he see? He saw the most wonderful sight. Through the little hole in the wall, the children had crept in, and they were sitting in the branches of the trees. And every tree he can't see, there was a little child. The trees were so glad to see the children. And they caroled the to the blossoms, and they waved the branches gently above the children's heads. The birds were flying above and twittering with delight. The flowers were looking up through the green grass and laughing. It was the lovely sea. Only in one corner of the still window. It was the farthest corner of the garden, and in it was stand a little boy. He was so small that he couldn't reach up the branches of the trees. He was wandering all around it and crying bitterly. The poor trees were still covered with frost and snow, and the north wind was blowing and blowing above it. "Climb up, little boy," said the tree, and it painted his branches as down as he could, but the boy was too tiny, and the giant heart nettled as he looked out. "How selfish I will be," he said. "Now I know why the spring was not come here. I will put that little boy in the top of the tree, and I will knock down the wall. My garden should be the children's playground forever and ever." He was really very sorry at what he has done. So he opened the front door quite softly and went out into the garden. Then when the children saw him, they were so frightened they all ran away, and the winter came again. Only the little boy did not run, because his eyes were so full of tears that he could not see the giants coming. And the giant came up behind him and took him gently in his hand and put him up into the tree. And the tree broke at once in the blossoms, and the birds came and sang on it, and the little boy took a stretch up to arms, and from the round of the giant's neck it kissed him. And the other children, when they saw that the giant was not wicked any more, came running back. With them came in the spring. "It is your garden now, little children," said the giant, and he knocked down the wall. And when the people were going to market, they found the giant play with the children in the most beautiful garden they had ever seen. All day long they played, and in the evening they came to the giant to say goodbye to him. "But where's your little companion?" said the giant. "The boy I put into the tree." The giant loved him the best because he had kissed him. "We don't know," answered the children. "He's gone away. You must tell him to be sure to and come tomorrow," said the giant. But the children, they did not know where he lived. They never see him before. And the giant felt very sad. Every afternoon, when the school was over, the children came and played with the giant. But the little boy from the giant's love was never seen again. The giant was very kind to all the children, and he belongs to his first little friend and often spoke of him. "I would like to see him," he used to say. Years went over, and the giant grew very old and feeble. He could not play with the children any more, so he sat in the big armchair and watched the children at their games and admired of his garden. "I have many beautiful flowers," he said, "but the children are the most beautiful flowers of all." One winter morning, He looked out of his window as he was dressing. He did not hate the winter now, for he knew that was nearly the spring was asleep and that the flowers were resting. Suddenly he rubbed his eyes and surprised, and looked and looked. It suddenly was an eyeball sight. In the farthest corner of the garden there was a tree, quite covered with lovely white blossoms. Its branches were golden, and silver fruit was down from them, and underneath it stood the little boy, Giraffe. Downstairs ran the giant in great joy and out into the garden. He hurried across the grass and came near to the child, and when he came quite close, his face was red with anger, and he said, "Who has dared to wound you?" And when the palms of the children's head, the marks from 2 nails, and the marks from 2 nails were on the little feet. "Who has dared to wound you?" cried the giant. "Tell me, I may take my big sword and kill him." "No," answered the child, "these are the wounds of love." "Who are you?" said the giant, and a strange feeling fell on him, and he knelt before the little child. And the child smiled on the giant and said to him, "You let me play once in your garden. Today you shall come with me to my garden, which is paradise." And when the train ran in that afternoon, they found the giant lying dead under the tree, all covered with white blossoms. Goodbye.